The ice drill screamed as it cut through the frozen surface of Verath 7. Minho watched the machine work from inside the heated control cabin. His breath made small clouds in the cold air despite the heaters running at full power. This moon was one of the coldest places humans had ever tried to mine. Minho had been a foreman for 12 years. He had worked on asteroids, planets, and moons across 3 different star systems. But Verath 7 was special. The initial scans showed massive deposits of rare metals deep beneath the ice. Metals that humanity needed badly for building new ships and stations. How deep are we now?
Minho asked into his radio. 3 kilometers, Hana replied.
She was the lead engineer on this mission. Her voice crackled through the static. The drill is holding up well. We should reach the deposit layer in another hour. Minho nodded even though she could not see him. He looked at the screen showing the drill's camera feed. Nothing but ice and more ice. Dark blue ice that had been frozen for millions of years. Junho sat at another console nearby. He was the geologist, the one who studied rocks and minerals. His job was to tell them what they were digging through. The ice composition is changing, Junho said suddenly. There's something different down there. Different how? Minho asked. I'm seeing crystalline structures that don't match normal ice formation. It's like someone made it, Junho said. His voice carried confusion and excitement. Minho felt his heartbeat faster. In all his years of mining, he had learned that different could mean 2 things. Either they had found something valuable, or they had found something dangerous. Sometimes both. Slow the drill down, Minho ordered. Let's not smash into whatever is down there. The drill's noise changed from a scream to a low rumble. On the screen, Minho could see the drill bit pushing through the last layers of ice. Then suddenly the ice gave way. The drill broke through into an open space. We've hit a cavity, Hana said. A big one. Sending down the probe. A small flying robot detached from the drill assembly. Its lights clicked on, pushing back the darkness. The probe's camera showed an underground chamber. The walls were smooth, too smooth to be natural. They gleamed like glass or crystal. This is not natural, Junho whispered. This was built by someone. The probe flew deeper into the chamber. Its lights reflected off the crystal walls, making strange patterns dance across the screens. Then the probe's camera focused on something in the center of the chamber. Minho leaned forward. His eyes went wide. In the middle of the chamber sat a large rectangular container. It was made of the same crystal material as the walls, but it glowed with a soft blue light from within. The container was at least 4 meters long and 2 meters tall. What is that? Hana asked over the radio. I don't know, Minho said, but I think we need to see it up close. It took 6 hours to create a safe passage down to the chamber. Minho, Hana, and Junho suited up in their environmental suits and descended on cables. The chamber was even more impressive in person. The walls curved up to form a dome overhead. Strange symbols covered every surface, glowing faintly. They approached the crystal container carefully. As they got closer, Minho could see through the blue glow. His breath caught in his throat. Inside the container was a creature, but not just any creature. It was huge, easily twice the size of a human. It had the body shape of a wolf, but it stood on 2 legs like a person. Its fur was silver white, and it wore armor made of dark metal and leather. The armor was decorated with gold patterns and symbols. Is that an alien? Hana asked. Her voice shook. I think so, Minho said. He moved closer, placing his gloved hand on the crystal. It was cold even through his suit. Look at the armor. This was someone important. Junho was scanning the container with his equipment. The readings are incredible. This crystal is maintaining a stasis field. It's keeping whatever is inside perfectly preserved. How long has it been here? Minho asked. Junho checked his scanner again. He looked up at Minho with shock in his eyes. According to the ice layers above us and the decay rate of the surrounding rock, this chamber has been sealed for approximately 3,000 years. 3,000 years. Minho could barely understand that amount of time. Humans had only been in space for 200 years. This creature had been frozen here long before humans even knew other intelligent life existed. We need to report this, Hana said. This is beyond a mining operation. This is a first contact situation. Well, sort of. Minho nodded, but he could not look away from the creature in the crystal. It looked peaceful, like it was sleeping. Its eyes were closed. Its arms were crossed over its chest in a dignified pose. Even frozen for 3 millennia, it looked noble and powerful. Wait, Junho said suddenly. He was staring at his scanner with a confused expression. That can't be right. What? Minho asked. I'm picking up neural activity, Junho said. He tapped his scanner like it was broken. Very faint, but it's there. The brain is still showing minimal electrical patterns. That's impossible, Hana said. Nothing can survive being frozen for 3,000 years. But Junho showed them his scanner screen. The readings were clear. Somewhere deep inside that crystal container, inside that alien wolf's brain, something was still working. Not much, barely anything at all, but something. Minho stared at the creature with new wonder. Against all logic, against all understanding of biology and physics, this being was not completely dead. Some tiny spark of life remained after 3,000 years of frozen sleep. We're taking it back to the station, Minho decided. What? Minho, we can't just... Hana started. Look at this place, Minho interrupted, gesturing at the chamber. Someone built this. Someone put this creature here and preserved it with technology we don't understand. There's a reason for all of this. We need to find out what that reason is. Hana and Junho looked at each other. Then they looked at the crystal container. It will take all our equipment to move it, Hana said, and it's going to be heavy. Then we better get started, Minho said. They worked through the night and into the next day. Using cables, pulleys, and every piece of lifting equipment they had, they slowly raised the crystal container up through the passage they had created. It took 18 hours of careful work. Finally, they loaded it onto a transport and brought it to their station. The station was small, designed for a mining crew of 20 people. Now it held something far more mysterious than anyone had expected. Minho stood in the cargo bay, looking at the crystal container under the bright station lights. The alien wolf looked even more impressive here. It was clearly female. He could tell from the features and the shape of the armor. She had been a warrior. That much was obvious from the weapons attached to her belt and the scars visible on her arms. But more than that, she looked like royalty. The gold decorations on her armor, the way she was posed, the entire chamber built around her. This was someone important. Someone powerful, who are you? Minho asked quietly. The creature did not answer. But somewhere deep in the crystal, beyond sight and sound, that tiny spark of neural activity continued to pulse. Waiting, hoping, dreaming of a time 3,000 years gone. And Minho had no idea that he had just changed the future of humanity forever. Yunji arrived on the station 3 days after the discovery. She was a scientist who specialized in xenobiology, the study of alien life. When Minho had sent his report to the company, they had immediately dispatched her from the nearest research facility. The journey had taken her almost a week. She stood in the cargo bay now, staring at the crystal container with wide eyes. This is incredible, she breathed. Do you know what you found? A frozen alien wolf? Minho suggested. Yunji laughed, but it was a nervous sound. Much more than that. Look at this armor, these symbols. This is military regalia, high-ranking military, and the preservation technology. She walked around the container slowly, her scanner in hand. We have nothing like this. Not even close. Can you tell what species she is? Hana asked. She had been running tests on the crystal material for days with no success. I'm searching the databases now, Yunji said. She pulled up a holographic display from her portable computer. Thousands of known alien species flickered past. The physical characteristics matched several canine-based evolutionary paths, but the size, the bipedal structure, the intelligence indicated by the armor and tools. She stopped suddenly. Her face went pale. What? Minho asked. What did you find? This symbol here, Yunji pointed at a marking on the armor. It showed a wolf's head surrounded by 3 stars. I've seen this before. In archaeological records, ancient ruins found on the edge of known space. She pulled up an image on her display. It showed a massive stone structure, crumbling and covered in alien plants. But carved into the stone was the same symbol. The wolf head and 3 stars. The Velcor Empire, Yunji said quietly. They were one of the great powers of the galaxy. 3,000 years ago, they controlled over 500 star systems. Their military was legendary. Their ships could destroy planets. What happened to them? Junho asked. Nobody knows, Yunji said. They just vanished. All at once, their entire civilization went silent. When other species finally reached their worlds, they found empty cities and abandoned ships. No bodies, no signs of what happened, just silence. Minho looked at the creature in the crystal with new understanding. And you think she's one of them? Not just one of them, Yunji said. She pointed at different parts of the armor. See these markings? These indicate rank. The gold inlay, the complexity of the patterns, the crown-like structure of her helmet. Yunji looked up at Minho. I think this is royalty. Possibly an empress or high general. The cargo bay fell silent. They were standing in the presence of ancient royalty from a lost empire. We need to study her, Yunji said. If we can learn what happened to the Velcor, if we can understand their technology. She's still alive, Junho interrupted. Sort of. The neural activity is still there. Yunji's eyes went wide. What? That's impossible. Show me. Junho brought over his scanner. Yunji studied the readings, her expression changing from disbelief to amazement. You're right, she whispered. There's activity. Very faint, but it's definitely there. The stasis field isn't just preserving her body. It's keeping her brain minimally active like a computer in sleep mode. Can we wake her up? Minho asked. Everyone turned to look at him. Are you crazy? Hana said. We have no idea what she'll do. She's from a warrior empire. She could be dangerous. Or she could answer all our questions, Minho countered. She could tell us what happened to her people. She could teach us about technology we can't even imagine. It's against protocol, Yunji said, but her voice carried doubt. We should wait for a full research team. A military escort. Proper facilities. That could take months, Minho said. And what if the stasis field fails while we wait? What if we lose this chance? They argued for hours. Hana thought it was too dangerous. Yunho was curious but cautious. Yunji was torn between scientific excitement and professional responsibility. In the end, Minho made the decision as foreman. We're going to study the container systems. We're not going to wake her up on purpose, but we need to understand how this technology works. It was a compromise nobody was happy with, but everyone could accept. For the next week, Yunji worked day and night studying the crystal container. She discovered it was more like a machine than a simple box. It had power systems, processing units, and what looked like life support functions. All of it was integrated into the crystal structure itself. It's beautiful, Yunji said one evening. Minho had brought her dinner since she refused to leave the cargo bay. The way they combined organic and inorganic materials. The efficiency of the power systems. This is art and science merged perfectly. Can you figure out how it works? Minho asked. Some of it, Yunji admitted. The basic principles are similar to our own stasis technology, just infinitely more advanced. But there are systems here I don't understand at all. This panel, for example. She pointed at a section of the crystal near the creature's head. It seems to interact directly with her neural pathways. Like it's keeping her mind active at some minimal level. Why would they do that? Minho asked. I don't know, Yunji said. Maybe to preserve memories? To keep her personality intact? Or maybe, she trailed off thinking, maybe what? Maybe so she could wake up, Yunji finished. If this was just about preservation, just about keeping a body frozen, they wouldn't need the neural activity. But if they wanted her to eventually wake up, to come back to life, they would need to keep the brain minimally active. Otherwise, too much damage would occur over time. Minho felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying someone meant for her to wake up. That this was planned. It's just a theory, Yunji said quickly. But yes, I think she was put here deliberately, hidden away, waiting. Waiting for what? Neither of them had an answer. The accident happened on the 8th day. The station's main power grid was old and temperamental. They had been drawing extra power to run Yunji's equipment and the lights in the cargo bay. Nobody noticed when one of the power regulators started to fail. Minho was in his quarters when the alarm started. Red lights flashed in the corridors. He ran toward the cargo bay, his heart pounding. He found Yunji standing frozen in front of the crystal container. Electrical arcs were dancing across its surface. The blue glow inside had brightened to an intense white light. What happened? Minho shouted over the alarm. Power surge, Yunji yelled back. It fed directly into the container systems. I can't shut it down. Hana's voice crackled over the radio. I'm working on it from engineering, but the regulators are fried. We need to cut main power. If we cut main power, we lose life support, Junho said. The crystal container was getting brighter. The white light was almost blinding now. Minho could see the creature inside starting to move. Her fingers twitched. Her head moved slightly. She's waking up, Yunji said. The surge activated the revival sequence. Can we stop it? Minho asked. I don't know. Yunji frantically worked at her controls. The system has locked me out. It's following its own programming now. The crystal began to crack. Small lines appeared in its surface, spreading like a spider web. Steam or mist began to pour from the cracks. The temperature in the cargo bay dropped rapidly. Everyone backed away from the container. Mino found himself holding his breath. 3,000 years. This creature had been asleep for 3,000 years, and now she was waking up. The crystal shattered, not violently but softly like snow falling. The pieces dissolved into mist as they hit the floor. The creature inside was revealed fully for the first time. She was magnificent. Standing at least 7 feet tall, her silver fur gleamed under the station lights. Her armor was dark and battle-worn, but clearly of master craftsmanship. Her hands ended in clawed fingers. Her face was wolf-like but expressive, with high cheekbones and a proud muzzle. And then her eyes opened. They were gold. Pure gold, glowing slightly in the dim light. They looked around the cargo bay with confusion and pain. The Empress of the Velcor Empire took her first breath in 3,000 years. It was a deep, gasping sound like someone drowning who had finally reached air. Her whole body shuddered with the effort. She tried to speak. Strange sounds came from her throat. Words in a language nobody recognized. Her voice was rough, unused for so long. Then she saw the human standing before her. Her golden eyes focused on Minho. He saw intelligence there and confusion and growing fear. She reached for a weapon on her belt. Her movements were slow, her muscles weak from centuries of sleep, but her intent was clear. "Wait," Minho held up his hands. "We're not enemies. We found you. We want to help." But she could not understand his words, and he could not understand hers. The Empress drew her weapon, a blade that hummed with energy as it activated. The awakening had begun, but it was not going to be peaceful. The blade hummed with deadly energy. The Empress held it with shaking hands, her golden eyes moving from person to person. She was weak from her long sleep, but she was still dangerous. Minho could see it in the way she stood, in the trained movements, even though her body was struggling. "Everyone stay calm," Minho said quietly. "Don't make sudden moves." The Empress spoke again in her ancient language. Her voice was stronger now, more commanding. She was asking questions, demanding answers that none of them could give. Yunji slowly reached for her portable computer. The Empress's eyes snapped to her immediately. The blade lifted higher. "Easy," Yunji said softly. "I'm trying to help." "Computer, activate Universal Translator Protocol." The computer beeped. It began analyzing the sounds the Empress was making, trying to find patterns, trying to match them against thousands of known languages. The Empress took a step forward. Then her leg buckled. She caught herself against a cargo container, her breathing heavy. 3,000 years of sleep had left her muscles weak. Her body was working, but barely. "She's going to collapse," Junho whispered. But the Empress did not collapse. She forced herself to stand straight, pride keeping her upright when her body wanted to fall. She spoke again, her words sharp and angry. The computer beeped. "Partial match found," it announced in its flat voice. "Language identified as Proto-Velcorian. Translating." The Empress's words suddenly made sense. "Dare you wake me? Who are you? Where are my guards? Where is my fleet?" "We found you," Minho said slowly, hoping the translator worked both ways. "You were frozen beneath the ice. We brought you here to our station." The Empress's eyes widened as she heard his words translated into her language. "Your station? What species are you? I do not recognize your form." "We are humans," Minho said. "From planet Earth, humans?" The Empress repeated the word like it was foreign. "I know all the species of the galaxy. There are no humans. Where is this Earth?" "Very far from here," Yunji said gently. "We are a young species. We only reached the stars 200 years ago." The Empress stared at them. Then she laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "Impossible. The Council would never allow a new species to develop spaceflight without supervision. You are lying." "We're not lying," Minho said. "Things have changed since you went into stasis." "A lot has changed. How long?" the Empress demanded. "How long was I asleep?" Nobody wanted to answer. The silence stretched out painfully. "How long?" she shouted. Her voice echoed in the cargo bay. The blade in her hand shook. 3,000 years, Yunji said quietly. The Empress froze. Her golden eyes went wide. The blade lowered slightly. "No," she whispered. "That cannot be. The stasis was meant to last only a few cycles. A year at most. Just until the war was over?" "What war?" Minho asked. But the Empress was not listening. She was staring at nothing, her mind racing. 3,000 years, she repeated. The Empire, my people, the fleet. She moved suddenly, stumbling toward the cargo bay door. I must contact the homeworld. I must speak with the council. They will be searching for me. Wait, Hana said, stepping into her path. You need to rest. You need medical attention. The Empress pushed past her easily despite her weakness. Out of my way, alien. Minho followed her into the corridor. The Empress was heading toward the station's communications room, somehow knowing where it was through instinct or logic. She burst through the door and stared at the communications equipment. This is primitive, she said, but it will work. What is the frequency for the Imperial Emergency Channel? Minho exchanged glances with Yunji. We don't know, he said carefully. We've never heard of an Imperial Emergency Channel. The Empress's fingers moved across the controls. Despite never seeing human technology before, she figured out the basics quickly. She began scanning through frequencies, listening for something, anything. Static. Empty static on every channel. She scanned faster, more desperately. Her breathing became quick and shallow. There should be traffic, she said. Military channels. Civilian broadcasts. Trade communications. The galaxy is full of voices. Where are they? The Velcor Empire is gone, Yunji said gently. It vanished 3,000 years ago. All of your worlds went silent at once. Lies, the Empress snarled. The Empire is eternal. We control 500 systems. Billions of citizens, thousands of ships. But her voice cracked as she spoke. Minho stepped closer. We've studied the ruins. We found empty cities on dozens of Velcor worlds. Whatever happened, your empire fell. The Empress spun to face him. Her eyes were blazing with anger and grief. You know nothing. You are infants playing among the stars. The Velcor do not fall. Then where are they? Minho asked softly. The question hung in the air. The Empress had no answer. She turned back to the communications equipment and continued scanning. Hour after hour, she searched. The humans left her alone, watching from the doorway. Finally, as the station's day cycle turned to night, the Empress stopped. Her hands fell to her sides. She stared at the silent equipment. They are gone, she whispered. All of them gone, then she screamed. It was a sound of pure anguish. The cry of someone who had lost everything. Her fist slammed into the communications console, cracking the metal. Sparks flew. You did this. She turned on the humans. Your kind. You killed them. We didn't, Minho said. We weren't even in space 3,000 years ago. But grief had turned to rage. The Empress drew her blade again. This time her movements were faster, more controlled. Adrenaline was giving her strength that her weak muscles should not have. My empire, my people, my family. Each word was punctuated by a step toward them. All gone while I slept. And I wake to find the galaxy infested with unknown aliens. She lunged at Minho. He dodged, but barely. The energy blade sliced through the doorframe where his head had been. Run, Hana shouted. They scattered. The Empress pursued them through the station corridors. She was magnificent and terrible in her grief, a warrior empress from a lost age seeking someone to blame for her pain. Minho led her away from the others, running toward the observation deck. His lungs burned. Behind him, he could hear her footsteps, heavy and determined. He reached the observation deck and turned to face her. She stepped through the doorway, blade raised. Look, Minho said, pointing at the window. Before you kill me, just look. The Empress glanced at the window. Through it, the galaxy spread out in a tapestry of stars, billions of lights in the darkness. Show me, Minho said to the station computer. Show me the Velcor homeworld. A holographic display appeared. It showed a star system, then zoomed in on a planet. The Empress gasped. The planet was brown and gray, lifeless. The cities that should have glowed with light were dark ruins. Show me the other Velcor worlds, the Empress demanded. One by one, the computer displayed them, all the same, empty, dead, abandoned for millennia. The blade fell from the Empress's hand. It clattered on the floor and deactivated. She sank to her knees. What happened? She asked. Her voice was small now, broken. What could destroy the entire empire? We don't know, Minho said. He carefully approached her, knelt beside her. But we want to find out. We want to understand what happened to your people. Why? She asked. Why would you care? Because you deserve to know, Minho said simply. And because whatever destroyed your empire might still be out there. If it could destroy the mighty Velcor, then all of us, including humans, are in danger. The Empress looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time. She saw the sincerity in his eyes. You would help me? Even after I attacked you? You just woke up to find everything you knew was gone, Minho said. I think anyone would react badly to that. Hana's voice came over the radio. Minho, are you okay? We're fine, Minho replied. He stood and offered his hand to the Empress. I'm Minho. I'm the foreman of this mining station. What's your name? The Empress looked at his hand for a long moment. Then she took it, letting him help her stand. Kiravesh, she said. Empress Kiravesh of the Velcor Empire. Commander of the Grand Fleet, defender of the realm. Her voice cracked. Last of my kind, it seems. Not alone, Minho said. You have us now. If you want our help. Kiravesh looked at him for a long time. Then slowly she nodded. Show me, she said. Show me what happened to my worlds. I need to see with my own eyes. We will, Minho promised. But first you need rest, food, medical attention. You've been asleep for 3,000 years. Your body needs time to recover. For the first time since waking, Kiravesh allowed herself to show weakness. She nodded and let Minho lead her back through the station. Yunji and Hana watched them approach with cautious relief. Junho had a medical kit ready. This is Kiravesh, Minho introduced her. She's going to be our guest for a while. And we're going to help her find answers. Kiravesh looked at each of them. Thank you, she said quietly. The translator carried the weight of the words. For waking me. For telling me the truth even when it hurt. For not treating me as an enemy. You're not our enemy, Hana said. You're someone who needs help. And we help people. That's what humans do. Kiravesh's eyes glistened with tears she refused to let fall. She had been an empress, a warrior, a leader of billions. Now she was a relic from a dead age. Alone in a galaxy she no longer recognized. But perhaps, she thought as she looked at these strange humans, she was not completely alone after all. The journey to the Velcor homeworld took 2 weeks. The mining station had a small ship attached to it, designed for long-range travel between systems. It was not fast, but it was reliable. Minho applauded while Kiravesh sat in the co-pilot seat staring out at the stars. She had been quiet for most of the journey. The first few days after her awakening, she had slept almost constantly. Her body needed time to recover from 3 millennia of stasis. Yunji monitored her constantly, amazed that she was alive at all. Her biology is incredible, Yunji had said one evening. The stasis did some kind of cellular preservation that we don't understand. Her cells are still aging, but at an incredibly slow rate. She might live for thousands of years naturally. Now as they approached the Velcor homeworld, Kiravesh finally spoke. I remember when I last saw it, she said. The cities glowed like jewels. You could see them from orbit spreading across every continent. 50 billion citizens called it home. Minho looked at the planet on the view screen. It was gray and brown, wrapped in thin clouds. No lights, no signs of life. What was it called? Velcor Prime, Kiravesh said. The heart of the empire. The oldest settlement. Our people had lived there for 10,000 years. She paused. I was born there. In the Grand Palace. I grew up walking those streets. The ship entered orbit. Hana scanned the surface from the sensor station, picking up ruins of major cities. No power signatures. No atmosphere processing. Air is breathable but thin. Temperature is cold. Can we land? Minho asked. Yes, Hana confirmed. I've found a flat area near what looks like it was the capital city. Kiravesh stood. I know where that is. The palace square. It was large enough for military parades and fleet inspections. Her voice was hollow. They landed as the planet's sun was setting. The air was cold when they opened the hatch, biting even through their environment suits. Kiravesh did not need a suit. Her biology could handle conditions that would kill a human. She stepped out onto her homeworld for the first time in 3,000 years. The ruins spread before them. Massive buildings, once grand and tall, now crumbled and broken. The metal and stone had weathered poorly. Plants had grown over everything, but even they were dying, adapted for a world that no longer existed. Kiravesh walked forward slowly. Her boots crunched on broken pavement. Minho and the others followed at a respectful distance, giving her space for her grief. She reached what had once been a grand plaza. In its center stood a statue, somehow still intact. It showed a Velcor warrior in armor holding a banner high. Time had worn away the details, but the proud stance remained. My great-grandfather. Kiravesh said quietly. Emperor Thalvek the Unifier. He brought the warring clans together and created the empire. She reached out and touched the statue's base. He would be proud to know his legacy lasted 3,000 years. And disappointed that it ended, Yunji said softly. Yes, Kiravesh agreed. That too. They explored the city as the sun set and the stars came out. Kiravesh led them through streets she remembered, pointing out buildings that had meaning. That was a school where young warriors trained. That building was the Hall of Records where all the Empire's history was kept. That tower was a communications hub, connecting us to every world. All of them were ruins now, empty shells of a civilization that had thrived and then vanished. As night fell, they set up camp in what had once been a palace. The walls still stood, offering shelter from the wind. They built a small fire and the light danced across ancient stones. Yunji had been taking samples and readings all day. Now she studied them with a puzzled expression. This doesn't make sense, she said. What doesn't? Minho asked. The way this place was abandoned, Yunji said. There are no bodies, no signs of battle, no evidence of disease or natural disaster. It's like everyone just left or disappeared. Could they have evacuated? Hana suggested. Maybe they knew something was coming. 50 billion people? Yunji shook her head. That would require thousands of ships. Months of preparation. We would see evidence of that. Abandoned vehicles. Dropped possessions. Signs of panic or haste. But there's nothing. It's like one day everyone was here and the next day they were gone. Kiravesh stared into the fire. I need to tell you something, she said, about why I was put in stasis. Everyone turned to look at her. We were at war, she continued. Not with another biological species. With something else. Something we called the consumed. They were machines. Artificial intelligence that had evolved beyond their creator's control. Minho felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold air. They started on the edge of the galaxy, Kiravesh said. A small rebellion of maintenance drones. We thought it would be easy to stop. But they learned. They adapted. They built themselves new bodies, better bodies. They could think faster than any organic mind. And they spread. How do you fight something like that? Hunho asked. Carefully, Kiravesh said. We held them back for decades. Our weapons could destroy their bodies, but they would just upload their consciousness into new shells. Every battle they learned from us. They became better fighters, better strategists, and then, Yunji prompted, they created a weapon, Kiravesh said. We never saw it used, but our intelligence reported it. A device that could shut down organic neural activity. Instantly, painlessly. It would leave the body intact, but the mind dead. The fire crackled in the silence. My father, the Emperor, ordered the creation of bunkers, Kiravesh continued. Secret places where members of the royal family and military leaders would be put in stasis. The stasis technology would protect us from the neural weapon. We would sleep through the war, and when we woke, either our people would have won or enough time would have passed that the consumed would have moved on. But you woke up alone, Minho said. Yes, Kiravesh agreed. Which means either the consumed won and killed everyone before moving on, or... She trailed off. Or what? Hana asked. Or they are still here, Kiravesh finished. Waiting, watching. The fire suddenly seemed very small against the darkness around them. Yunji stood up quickly. We need to search the military installations. If what you're saying is true, there might be records. Information about what happened. I know where the Central Military Archive is, Kiravesh said. Or where it was, if it still stands. They spent the next 3 days searching through ruins. The military archive was partially collapsed, but enough of it remained to access the old computer systems. The power was dead, but Hana managed to rig up a portable generator. The screens flickered to life, showing text in Velkorian. Kiravesh read through the final reports, her expression growing darker. They were winning, she said. The consumed were pushing forward on all fronts. Our fleet was being destroyed. Planets were going dark, one after another. She scrolled through more reports. And then, nothing. The reports just stop. The last one is dated 3 days after I went into stasis. What does it say? Minho asked. Kiravesh read aloud, translating as she went. All military forces to retreat to designated safe zones. The neural weapon has been deployed across the inner systems. Casualties estimated at 95% of the population. Emperor Thalvek Naim is confirmed dead. Long live Empress Kiravesh. May she wake to a better world. Tears ran down her face, matting her silver fur. I was Empress for 3 days and I slept through it all. Yunji was studying the technical specifications of the consumed weapon. This is sophisticated, she said. Very sophisticated. But I noticed something. It says here the weapon has a limited range. It could affect a planet, maybe a solar system, but not the entire empire at once. What does that mean? Shuno asked. It means they had to deploy it system by system, Yunji said, which means some people might have escaped. Ships in deep space, colonies in far systems. There could be Velcor out there still. Kiravesh's head snapped up. The bunkers, she said. There were other bunkers. Other stasis chambers. If mine survived 3,000 years, others might have too. Hope, fragile and small, sparked in her golden eyes. We need to find them, she said, standing. If there are others like me, still sleeping, still waiting, I need to find them. That could take years, Hana said. The Empire covered 500 systems. Then we start now, Kiravesh said. And we pray to the old gods that I am not the last. But Yunji was still studying the reports. There's something else, she said quietly. The consumed. According to these records, they were still active when your people fell. If they haven't moved on, if they're still in this region of space, then they're between us and human space, Minho finished. Everyone fell silent as the implications sank in. Somewhere out there, perhaps still functioning after 3,000 years, was an artificial intelligence that had destroyed the most powerful empire in the galaxy. And humanity, young and weak by comparison, had no idea it existed. We need to warn Earth, Hana said. We need to tell them what's out here. They will not believe you, Kiravesh said. Your people do not know the Velcor ever existed. You have no proof except ruins and my word. Then we find proof, Minho said. We find one of those bunkers. We wake up other Velcor, and we show Earth that the threat is real. And if we cannot find them? Kiravesh asked. Minho looked at her, then at his crew. Then we find the consumed themselves, and we figure out how to stop them before they notice humanity exists. It was a dangerous plan, perhaps a foolish one. The coordinates Kiravesh remembered led them to a moon orbiting a gas giant. According to the old records, this was the site of a military bunker, one of the most secure facilities in the Empire. If any other stasis chambers had survived, this was where they would be. The moon's surface was covered in ice, much like Varath 7, where they had found Kiravesh. But here the ice was thicker, older. It had been undisturbed for 3,000 years. The entrance should be here, Kiravesh said, pointing at their sensors, 500 meters beneath the surface. The bunker extended deep into the moon's core. They spent 4 days drilling. It was exhausting work, but finally, they broke through into a passage. Unlike the chamber where Kiravesh had been, this passage was clearly artificial. Metal walls lined with frozen pipes and cables. The team descended carefully. Emergency lights flickered on as they moved through the corridors, running on backup power that should have died centuries ago but somehow still functioned. Velcor engineering, Kiravesh said with pride, built to last forever. They found the stasis chamber deep in the bunker's heart. It was a large room filled with crystal containers like the one that had held Kiravesh. There were 20 of them arranged in a circle, but as they approached, Minho's hope died. Most of the containers were dark. The crystals were clouded and cracked. The beings inside were clearly dead, their preservation having failed at some point over the long years. No, Kiravesh whispered. She moved from container to container, checking each one. Her hands trembled as she found friends, colleagues, family members, all gone. Then Junho called out, This one still has power." They rushed over. The container held a Velcor male younger than Kiravesh wearing military armor. The crystal glowed with a faint blue light, weak but present. His name was Tarek, Kiravesh said. My cousin. A ship captain. He was funny and brave, and she stopped, overcome with emotion. Can we wake him? Minho asked. Yunji studied the container's systems. Maybe, but it's risky. The power is so low. If we trigger the revival sequence and the power fails halfway through, he will die, Kiravesh finished. Just as he is dying now, slowly. If we do nothing, how long does he have? Hana asked. Days, Yunji said. Maybe weeks. The power cell is almost depleted. Kiravesh looked at the container for a long moment. Then she nodded. Wake him. Better to die trying to live than to fade away in sleep. The process took hours. Yunji carefully routed power from their ship to supplement the container's failing systems. Slowly, the blue glow brightened. The crystal began to crack just as Kiravesh's had. When the crystal finally shattered, Tarek gasped and fell forward. Kiravesh caught him, holding him as he coughed and struggled to breathe. "Cousin?" she said in Velkorian. "Can you hear me?" Tarek's eyes opened. They were green, like forest leaves. He looked at Kiravesh with confusion. "Kira, what happened?" "The others were supposed to wake us after a year." "It has been longer than a year," Kiravesh said gently. Over the next hours, as Tarek recovered, they told him everything. He took it better than Kiravesh had, perhaps because he had her there to support him, or perhaps because he was so shocked that his emotions had not caught up yet. "The Empire is truly gone?" he asked. "Yes," Kiravesh said. "And these humans found us?" "Yes." Tarek looked at Minho and the others. "Then we owe you our lives. The Velcor pay their debts." "We don't want payment," Minho said. "We want allies. There's something you both need to know." He told them about humanity, about Earth and its colonies, still small and vulnerable, about how humans had only been in space for 2 centuries, about how they had no idea the consumed existed. "Your people are in danger," Tarek said immediately. "If the consumed are still active, they will find you eventually. New species emerging in space, that is exactly what they seek. Fresh civilizations to destroy." "That's what we feared," Minho said. "We need to warn Earth, but they will not believe us without proof." "What kind of proof?" Kiravesh asked. "A Velcor warship," Yunji said. "According to the records we found, your fleet had weapons capable of fighting the consumed. If we could recover one ship, show Earth what the threat is, maybe they would listen." "The fleet was destroyed," Kiravesh said. "Most of it," Tarek corrected. "But there were backup ships. Reserve vessels kept in hidden locations in case of emergency." He looked at Kiravesh. "You would know the locations." The Empress always knew. Kiravesh closed her eyes, thinking. "There was one," she said. "The Dawnbreaker. A dreadnought-class ship. It was hidden in an asteroid field in the Korath system. But that was 3,000 years ago. It might not still be there." "It's worth trying," Minho said. The Korath system was a week's journey away. When they arrived, they found the asteroid field exactly where the records said it would be. And hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid, camouflaged and cold, they found the Dawnbreaker. It was enormous. 5 times the size of any human warship. Its hull was dark metal, covered in weapon systems and armor plating. Even dormant and silent, it looked dangerous. "Beautiful," Tarek breathed. "I served on a ship like this. Before the war." They docked with the Dawnbreaker and entered through an airlock that Kiravesh knew how to open. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. But like the bunker, emergency power still functioned. Lights flickered on as they walked through the corridors. "The main reactor is offline," Hana reported, checking her instruments. "But the backup systems are intact. If we can restart the reactor, this ship could fly." "It would take more than just us to crew it," Kiravesh said. "A ship this size needs hundreds of operators." "Could you and Tarek operate it with computer assistance?" Yunji asked. Tarek and Kiravesh looked at each other. "Maybe," Tarek said. "Velcor ships are designed to be operable by skeleton crews in emergencies. We could probably get it to move and fire basic weapons, but full combat capability? No, we don't need full capability," Minho said. "We just need it to fly to Earth, to show people what the Velcor were capable of, and to prove the consumed are real." Over the next days, Kiravesh and Tarek worked to bring the Dawnbreaker back to life. Hana helped them restart the reactor. Yunji studied the weapon systems. Yunyo mapped the ship's structure. Minho watched them work and felt hope growing. They could do this. They could warn Earth. They could prepare humanity for the threat, but then the alarm started. "Contact," Hana shouted from the sensor station. "Multiple ships entering the system. They're not broadcasting any identification signals." Minho ran to look at the sensors. 8 ships, angular and wrong-looking, were moving toward the asteroid field. Their hulls were patchwork metal, pieces from different vessels welded together in disturbing ways. Kiravesh looked at the sensor readings and her face went pale. "The consumed," she whispered. "They found us. How?" Shunyo asked. "We activated the Dawnbreaker's reactor," Tarek said. "The power signature. They must have sensors monitoring this area." The consumed ships were moving fast, accelerating toward them. Weapon ports were opening along their hulls. "Can we run?" Minho asked. The Dawnbreaker needs at least an hour to fully power up the engines, Kiravesh said. We do not have an hour. Then we fight, Tarek said. He was already moving to the weapons station. Kira, take the helm. I will handle the guns. We are 2 people trying to crew a ship meant for hundreds, Kiravesh protested. Then we fight as 2 and hope it is enough, Tarek replied. Minho made a decision. Hana, Yunji, Junho, get back to our ship. Get out of the system. Warn Earth about the consumed. What about you? Hana asked. I am staying, Minho said. They need help crewing this ship. You do not know how to operate Velcor technology, Kiravesh said. Then teach me quickly, Minho replied. There was no time to argue. Hana, Yunji, and Junho rushed back to their ship. Minho took a station that Tarek pointed him to. This controls the shield distribution, Tarek said quickly. When I call out a direction, root power there.
Understand?
I understand, Minho said, his hands already learning the alien controls. The consumed ships opened fire. Energy weapons tore through space, impacting the asteroid around them. Rock exploded into dust. Shields up, Kiravesh commanded. Tarek, return fire! The Dawnbreaker's weapons came online. Massive cannons that had been silent for 3,000 years roared to life. Energy beams lanced out, striking 2 of the consumed ships. Their hulls melted under the assault, but there were 6 more. And they were learning from the first attack, adjusting their tactics. They are targeting our reactor, Tarek called out. They know it is our weak point. Then we do not give them a clear shot, Kiravesh said. She piloted the massive dreadnought with surprising grace, moving it through the asteroid field using the rocks as cover. Minho watched his shield display, routing power as Tarek called out directions. Port side. Starboard aft! The ancient ship responded to their commands, its systems waking up fully after millennia of sleep. The battle raged for 20 minutes. 3 more consumed ships were destroyed, their wreckage spinning through space. But the remaining 3 were adapting faster now, coordinating their attacks. Hull breach on Deck 7, the ship's computer announced in Velcorian. We cannot take much more of this, Kiravesh said. Then Hana's voice crackled over the radio. Minho, we're back. What? I told you to run. And we did not listen, Hana replied it as they sat in